"I know I got it into the factory," one worker said. "If the disease was in the animals, this place would have closed. But for workers, the factory can do what they like." I want to welcome to Minister the written confirmation from Simon Harris to Deputy Boyd Barrett that the Health Surveillance Protection Centre will investigate an alleged outbreak of COVID-19 in Liffey Meats in your constituency. These workers feel intimidated, are vulnerable, and they are not being treated with dignity and respect. There's no checking of temperature, no masks, no 2-metre distancing, and when they asked for masks, they were told no. Many of them are migrants, and because of the low pay, they live in communal housing, and the risk of the disease spreading among them is very, very great indeed. Now, I want you today to tell us, if your primary concern is for the health of the workers and the safety of the community, will you now apologise for misleading this House 3 weeks ago? And will you apologise to those 800+ workers who have suffered because the entire regulatory bodies in this country have failed them? And will you now do what the Migrant Rights Centre are calling for, which is to close the meat plants where clusters exist, to allow for deep cleaning, to allow for realignment in those factories, to allow for safe practices to exist? It is still difficult to find out if any meat plants have been inspected by the HSA, or where they are, or how many of them. And the concern that we have that we're blinded in terms of what is actually happening, not just in those plants, but in the communities surrounding them. We're blind in what could happen in those communities. The workers in these plants, just like the beef farmers and others in the sector, are failed because the current policy has nothing to do with supporting farmers or rural communities. It's about supporting a corporate agri-food industry which benefits only a tiny few and generates massive profits for those at the top of the chain, their shareholders and the CEOs. It doesn't support ordinary farmers or their families, and it is certainly not supporting the workers on the killing floors of the meat factories and the abattoirs. I understand the 20% of the workforce that you referred to earlier and that come in here on employment permits come in through agencies. Have you spoken to those agencies about the accommodation in which those workers live? And have you urged them or proposed to them or helped them or told them to do something to rectify the overcrowded multi-generational accommodation in often isolated rural areas in where they live? And lastly, can you please answer the question that was asked of you earlier on? Do the majority of your 50 large-scale meat plants operate a sick pay scheme for these workers? And workers need to know that there is legislation that covers them. It's called the Health and Safety and Welfare at Work Act of 2005, Section 27E. If you feel unsafe at work, you can, under that legislation, walk away from your workplace without fear of intimidation or dismissal, because your workplace is not protected.